Zaid, what's good, brother?
Oh, brother, can you hear me?
Yes, give me a second here.
Yeah, my bad, bro. I just completely wasted your time. I completely goofed. I honestly thought it was 2 p.m., not noon.
No,
So,
no, you didn't waste my time, bro. We're good. We're here. Um, I'm chill. After 30 episodes, it finally occurred to me that I could record an episode in my garden. So this is my first episode outside, under the tree, under
let's go,
13
baby.
UV.
Let's go,
Oh yeah,
baby.
I'm so excited. Super chill. And I kid you not, literally, as I just came downstairs from the bathroom, I just received this from Amazon. I'm
Bro,
so
I honestly have my copy. I haven't even opened the book yet. Like, I am so
oh my,
excited to actually dive into it.
it's my next read. I'm hyped. How are you, brother? You look so good, man.
Thank you, bro. I'm fantastic. I got a good night of sleep.
Yeah.
Just running all over the place, trying to schedule a lot of things, different podcasts, whatnot. But yeah, a lot of good things in the work. Hopefully, that we can talk about over the pod.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so excited we get to roll a second part on the show. And I'm not letting a part 3 happen unless it's in person. There's no way.
I'll hold you up to that, bro.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, man. So what's new with you, bro? What have you been cooking? What new rabbit holes have you joined? I mean, it's been a couple months, man. I'm pretty sure at the rate we study and at the movement of the internet, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of shit that's new with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, it's believe it or not, it's not actually something like I'm not diving into a new rabbit hole, so to speak. I'm more of in a phase where I'm compiling everything that I've learned about so far, just to get
Yeah,
ready for the course and everything. Um,
right.
so I've just been like hammering Notion really hard, just trying to compile everything as simply as possible, as categorically correct as possible, to then start shooting on the 27th of this month, um, to have a course out. I mean, that's going to be extremely exciting. And I think it's going to be the first of its kind from the perspective of basically everything circadian biology, everything sunlight, the misconceptions about melanoma, skin cancers, the biological underpinnings of how the body works, all of
Mm-hmm.
that compiled into one. I think it's going to be very exciting.
Fuck. I want to talk about that, man. Why are you cooking this course?
So I mean, you know that I live in Southern California, but I work for a different company. I'm actually a coach at a company called Dexafit in
Okay.
Irvine here, and we started a parent company called the Meta Warrior, which is based off of Plato's ideal citizen. You have to have somebody who's intellectually intelligent, and then somebody who's also physically strong and healthy. But I've basically introduced the circadian principles to the team over there, and they have just been blown away.
Oh
So as a result,
wow.
they're actually investing heavy in not only a course, but we're also doing a red light therapy room. We're doing a whole bunch of stuff around this, so it's gonna be cool.
Beautiful. What are you offering in the course? What are you featuring? How's this structure?
For me, I think I'm not covering nutrition, detox, supplementation, anything like that. It's just going to be circadian biology, mainly, light water magnetism. But to be honest, dude, like the water part, the electromagnetism part, that stuff flies over my head for the most part. So I'm really just focusing on the circadian aspect, the light environments, the practical action steps that people can take away. Because I still have so much to learn in terms of like biophysics and whatnot.
Right. What I mean, and how is this course structured? What's new about this course? If that question makes sense.
Let me actually pull it up real quick for you. I'll
Oh,
just
beautiful.
are we recording, by the way?
Yes.
Oh shit. Okay. I was
Yeah.
I thought this was the preamble, bro.
No, no, this is it.
Let me pull this up real quick. So this is like a straight outline of the course. Um, so it starts at module 1, circadian biology, light environment, and sleep. Everything from the circadian rhythm, light and dark cycles, the full light spectrum from the sun, dangers of artificial light, mitochondria, the opsin family, POMC, biophotons, melanin, melatonin, eye regeneration,
Mm-hmm.
about skin cancer, and then progressively I cover heliotherapy, and then the actual fundamentals behind light environment as well. And then
How
from there, it's sleep fundamentals, grounding and electromagnetism, A whole bunch of shit, bro.
Right. And how are you teaching this? Videos?
It's going to be straight high quality production. So it's going to be me speaking to the camera in the same way that I am here,
Mm-hmm.
except 4K,
Mm-hmm.
2160p, nice studio, everything.
How long is the course? You know yet? Like, do you have like something thought of?
How long is it going to take from start to finish?
No, how long is it gonna take for me to finish the course?
Honestly, you could do it in a day if you really spent like from morning to evening, but I don't think it's going to be too much of it's not going to have so much information to the point where it's like you have to be on the course for like weeks. I think a couple days is something that you can achieve with.
I like it because your content, from what I've seen, is the most easy to digest information on most easy to digest and rich information on circadian biology, light, water, magnetism, the earth. And just to see this in one space, I am so excited for that. Even though I kind of understand the topics, I'm going deep into that course. And because of what I just said, it's perfect for my dad to take it, my mom, my
Yeah.
little brother. I'm excited, man.
And
Is
by
that
the way, that's just the beginning. Sorry to interrupt, but that's
right?
just the beginning. So hopefully within the next 18 months, we're looking to open up a new location where I'll be one of the heads over there, and really I'll have people underneath me to help me with various things. And then we start working with professional athletes, general population,
That's
basically
beautiful.
covering everything.
How are you approaching the release of the course? I mean, after production, how are you going to move it?
So I think that, just the basics around social media, just giving a lot of shout outs around it. And then the good thing is that we have somebody to run us through the course.
Right.
I have somebody who's worked with Red Bull, who's worked with various other companies to
Ah.
actually to create things of this nature. So they have experience.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so they'll probably help out a lot with the marketing aspect.
That's beautiful. Are there any guests in the course? That would be so cool.
No guests. It's just me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe a part two of the course, a second rendition.
That would be super cool for you to interview these guests with your mind and what you know. That would be really, really, really cool.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
with the exception of Cruz because he's I can assume he's gonna go in on me.
Oh yeah, but hey, it gives good content, and I'm pretty sure he'd appreciate you even if he goes. I mean, he attacks everyone, even his biggest fans, right? But it's
Yeah,
part of the
we're
Cruz
big.
paradox.
We all love each other at the end of the day.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what has creating this project, um, your content creation, your podcast, taught you about the world?
It's definitely showed me the complexity involved with reality and Mother Nature. I think that you cannot discount how complex all of these biological systems are. They go back hundreds of millions, even billions of years, and so people underestimate the amount of study and obsession that you have to have in order to understand these things comprehensively. And that's something that's dawned on me lately. Ever since
Mm-hmm.
compiling this entire thing, it's absolutely daunting, especially I can imagine from the point of view of the average person who doesn't know anything about any of this stuff. Um, and so I think it's just, taking it day by day, step by step, and
Mm-hmm.
progressing, building upon your foundation of knowledge to then just have a more comprehensive approach.
That's beautiful. How did you go by studying this information? I feel like we already talked about that in part one, but it's beautiful to talk about it again. Like what it's not a common um introduction into biology and health, right? You know this. Um, how did that get started for you?
Well, for me, it was the Tetragrammaton podcast
Oh
with
wow. Mm-hmm.
Huberman and Rubin. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was the point where it changed my trajectory because after you hear that type of podcast, you hear Cruz going in on Huberman and all these different things. It's hard for you not to catch the bug, so to speak. And
Yeah.
so I
Oh, that was
caught it,
really well
and
said.
ever since then, I've just gone down that rabbit hole. But the way I approach studying it is kind of all over the place. I have one
Mm-hmm.
basic system where I track everything with Notion. I put everything in folders. I have folders within folders, and so every time
Mm-hmm.
I come across a new piece of information, I just throw that into Notion, and then I study that over time.
I'm kind of building something like that, similar, just for myself. And it's not easy. There's so
No.
much. No, and that podcast was my lever as well. I remember when it came out, I didn't understand shit for 4 hours, but the way Cruz went at my favorite, podcaster, which was Huberman, and the way he just screamed, "I don't comply with your bullshit," and here's a secret about nature, that stuck me into his work specifically, and that's how I found you as well.
Mm.
And shit, it's been wild. I mean, you just look at a plant and something, you ponder for like 30 minutes. How does that work? Why is it there like that, right? I've been certainly thinking. I've been thinking about that lately a lot. How just everything comes into actually working. If that
Well,
makes sense.
dude, like, how can you not? If you study these various things that
Right.
we're talking about from a circadian perspective, how can you not understand that the sun coming down from or the sun's light coming down from the atmosphere is influencing every single living organism on this planet?
Right. Yeah, I wanted to touch on that with you. Actually, it's like we said, it's not an easy part from biology to understand, and especially nowadays, where you are sold like a specific ideology that you have to follow, and it's completely opposite to this. And it's hard for people to break out from that, from the big pharma, from the sunscreen is, the sun's killing you. Wear sunglasses every day. I mean, I think you know where I'm trying to go here. Um, there's this image that is fed into our minds, and it becomes our mind, and it's hard for people everywhere right now in the world to break out of that and try to understand how is it that the thing that I'm told is the worst thing for me can actually be the center of everything, which is light, right?
Yeah.
Like everything always comes back to light. Can you explain that to someone you want to wake up? If that makes sense. I think Jack calls it the rooster paradox. No, the rooster roost rooster wisdom, because it wakes you up.
Mm, that's a good way to put it. That is a good
Yeah.
way to put it. I it is very difficult to convince somebody, or at least it depends on the type of person. I've actually found that I've been pretty successful in terms of gaining people's attention and bringing them to more of the awareness around these subjects. But I would say definitely showing them some of the research that goes against the standard centralized narrative on sunlight and skin cancer, let's say melanoma specifically. Showing them some of the biological mechanisms involved is very key. So if you just bring up the point that every aspect of our body has light sensing proteins, okay, then you get somebody's attention. If the sun was so bad for us, if it was inherently toxic to the human species and biological systems at large, then why do we have these light sensing proteins within our body, in our skin,
Right.
blood vessels, fat, brain, everything? Um, so throwing out those little examples to people, I think, is really key. And then just having a conversation, with a decent amount of time to be able to explore all of this stuff is important as well. Like if
Mm-hmm.
you only have 2 minutes with somebody, it's going to be a pain in the ass to try to convince them, or
Mm-hmm.
at least grab their attention. You
Yeah.
need
Right.
15-20 minutes to go through all this stuff.
What about right here in the podcast? How can you help us understand how everything actually comes back to light, and it's not entirely about food, uh, going to the gym in a toxic blue light, non-native EMF environment?
Well, I mean, I would just go back to if you're religious, go back to the scriptures, go back to whatever book
Boom.
you adore, and look at the motifs around light that are thrown around.
Oh wow.
Everything began with light. You know, even people in near death experiences say that, oh, I saw the light, things of that nature. So you can find examples scattered throughout reality around this stuff. But if we're looking at the uh, the common thread here in reality, what is around us 24/7? I mean, it's not.
Mm,
We only eat a couple times a day. It's not
right.
training, exercise. We only do that a couple times a week. It's light, 24/7. You can't avoid it.
No, that's a really good point. Yeah. It's like, yeah. Yeah,
Even like
you're mhm.
here's a good example too. Even researchers who are trying to study things like biophotonics or just the overall illumination from the body, even they struggle to study this stuff because 2 hours after somebody's put into a dark room, they're still emitting light. There's still I think it's called delayed what is it, delayed luminescence or something of that nature.
Fuck, I have no idea what that is.
Like it's crazy stuff, dude, and it all
Yeah.
centers around light.
Yeah, I mean, that point you mentioned that maybe you'll eat 3 times a day, 2 times a day, you drink water a couple of times a day, you'll go train for 1 or 2 hours a day, but your body is being consistently fed. No, it's being fed and receives light every single second of the day, whether you see the light or not, right? I'm under the sun, the computer's shining light at me as well, but there's a fucking 5G tower right over there. Um, Even if I close this, even if it's cloudy, there's light on me all the time. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something that you and I've been kind of interacting on Twitter is the connection between gut and light. I feel like that is the biggest moment for a lot of people, that there's a connection between the two,
Mhm.
and that your prebiotic supplements don't help as much as actually just getting skin in the game in your stomach, right?
Yeah,
You
I
want
mean,
to,
people
yeah,
don't understand the power of sunlight in general on the gut. Like they just
right.
have no idea.
Can you explain a little bit on it as well? Because the only thing I understand from it is, I mean, your gut is full of, what do you call eukaryote cells? They're
I
called
mean, yeah,
that,
yeah, there are a bunch of different cells. I mean, you can talk about POMC neurons in the gut, which are directly related to pro-opiomelanocortin and how light influences that aspect of biology. You can
right?
talk
I
about
mean, sorry, just that makes you go, "What the fuck is that doing over there?"
yeah,
Right?
what is something that is really designed to start in the brain? What is that doing in the gut? I mean,
Yeah,
it should lead people to the understanding that everything is interconnected, obviously. And so when you look at some of the research papers on light in general, sunlight and gut health, we find that the red light spectrum, red and infrared light, is inherently regenerative of the gut lining and the overall gut function. We also come to the conclusion that UVA and UVB and also other light wavelengths actually change the composition of the
fuck.
microbiota within the gut.
Yeah, that is crazy, and that right there, what you said is it ties to the importance of eating locally, right? Because that changes the light in your microbiome and in your stomach. If you're eating an apple from Ecuador or New York, you're giving those signals from your stomach. You're changing the light in your stomach. That is crazy to me, and that's been a beautiful, beautiful rabbit hole to get into lately. Can you explain to us what POMC is? Because that I feel is one of the most beautiful um, introductions into circadian biology and light biology.
Yeah, I mean it's incredibly fascinating, and it's actually one of the go-tos for me when trying to explain this to the everyday
Right.
person who doesn't have any concept of this stuff. So POMC, pro-opiomelanocortin, we have the POMC gene. There's an exception in the population where that POMC gene doesn't work correctly, or
Really?
at least there's some genetic defect. And so that's just something to caveat, but of course, that's not going to apply to most people. Now, this POMC gene is stimulated by sunlight. And I
Mm-hmm.
also believe it's stimulated by artificial light in various ways. But basically, what people need to understand is that light hits the POMC gene, it creates a protein known as pro-opiomelanocortin, and then as a result, it cleaves off a number of biological peptide hormones that have various effects. So you can talk about alpha MSH producing melanin, being anti inflammatory, being an appetite suppressant. You can talk about beta endorphin being an opioid peptide, reduces pain, reduces anxiety and depression. You could talk about what other ones are there? ACTH and CLIP, which are abbreviations. I think ACTH is adrenocorticotrophic hormone, something of that nature.
Yeah.
Responsible for the stimulation of cortisol, and then CLIP is also involved with insulin because it's an insulin secretagogue, so it stimulates insulin from the pancreas. Now, when people hear that light stimulates all of these peptide hormones, they're shocked.
That's what I was about to say. How can you not overlook and underestimate the importance of light from just hearing the explanation of POMC?
And it's all in the literature. I mean, if somebody doubts me on this, go ahead. Search through search through
Yeah.
NCBI. I mean, you can find all this stuff.
It's not a difficult search at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah.
in the very same literature that people talk about, skin cancer and melanoma and all this stuff.
Right. I want to get into that as well, which is, the connection between POMC and sunscreen. Sunscreen is blocking POMC, correct? Or at least the stimulation of it. I don't know.
I mean, you could make the argument for that, but actually, you could make the argument for that because not only are people blocking UVA and UVB from hitting their skin, which stimulates POMC, but they're also wearing sunglasses and contact lenses. So UVA and UVB are key to the stimulation of POMC in general. And if you're blocking the eyes and the skin from receiving that type of light input from UV light, then you could make that argument. Yeah.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Sunscreen, this is something that it's not hard to notice, but sunscreen is a solution to a problem that we've created, which is burning easily. That's a problem you've created for yourself. Number two, one that doesn't exist, that you're going to get skin cancer from the sun. Right?
Yes. All man-made issues.
Right. Why does the sun not create melanomas for skin cancer?
Well, because there are various points of evidence that we can refer to. I mean, number one, why would the sun's light cause a chronic and deadly condition on a biological system that evolved with the full light spectrum?
Right.
We wouldn't be around, period, if sunlight caused melanoma or any other skin cancers.
Right.
And then you take other things into account, like, oh, okay, melanoma is highly associated with low levels of vitamin D3. So that's an indicator that people who avoid the sun are putting themselves directly at risk for melanoma. And then you consider that low melatonin levels are also strongly associated with melanoma. So people are not getting that melatonin from sunlight, near infrared light specifically. And if you notice, they're not making it dark after sunset. They're always around artificial light. That's destroying melatonin as well. So that here you have vitamin D3 and melatonin, two potent anti-cancer compounds, and you're destroying them straight out the gate chronically for 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
The course of your life.
No, and I'm pretty sure that if you actually give yourself a little time for research and stop listening to these paid dermatologists, you'll find more evidence showing that sunscreen causes melanoma than the actual sun, which is crazy as well, and blue light.
Now, here's where I actually differ. I don't think that sunscreen causes skin cancer or melanoma. I don't think it's a direct relationship. I think it's the other things around this discussion that are causing the environment for somebody to be diagnosed with a skin cancer. And sunscreen, in my opinion, is only a contributing factor to those conditions. Right. I don't believe that it actually causes the skin cancers here.
So what else would you add there?
Well, again, the low vitamin D3, chronic low vitamin D3, chronic low melatonin, dopamine issues via the eyes because they're blocking the sun with sunglasses and contact lenses. What else? And just sun avoidance in general. If you're not getting outside, consider that puts you at the highest risk in regards to developing any sort of skin cancer. And that was proven with the 2016 study done in Sweden with the relationship of melanoma and women's exposure to sunlight. I mean, it showed you clearly that sun avoidance, the people who avoided the sun, put themselves at the same risk of developing or at the same risk of all-cause mortality, dying from all causes as people who consistently smoked.
Yeah, that's crazy. How did that study work? Were these people just avoiding the sun, being inside blue lit?
Yeah, standard typical lifestyle.
Yeah, no, that's the lever, that's the cause. I mean, look at I think Ninja was just diagnosed with a melanoma, right? The
Yeah,
bottom of his foot. What
and
the
people
fuck?
wonder why.
Yeah. What is how did you get sun down there? Right?
Well, that's
Well,
another point is that also most of the melanoma cases that take place are, manifesting in areas where that are not exposed to sunlight at all.
yeah, that's crazy. And that also proves how these cells they move.
Yeah, I've heard people reference that, especially Cruz. I
Mm-hmm.
think I think he
There's a
referenced
word for it. Yeah.
diapedesis. Is that it?
I have no clue.
But I haven't dived into that specifically too deep.
Yeah. Another incredible rabbit hole for me with light was it has been the its connection with water. Right, we started to understand that water's not just a hydrating molecule, and that you can actually change the physics of water with photons with light. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, water has an absorption spectrum. It
Yeah.
absorbs a specific nanometer of light. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to me, it just makes sense. Light, water, magnetism, all of them work together.
Yeah. Zaid, coexisting in the health and schizo Twitter. What does make you most excited about the future? Because I don't think it's as pressing as we want to think it is.
Honestly, this might be a little bit of a funny answer, but the fact that we have autists such as ourselves pushing this workout to a mass audience,
Yeah.
you have people who have an unbelievable amount of energy who just like are
Yeah.
borderline autistic with how they study this stuff. That to
No,
me is incredibly optimistic.
they're inspired to make a change. I mean, they most of the people in schizo Twitter, they've had something happen to themselves that have showed that the traditional way of thinking is incorrect and that there's more to nature. So I think everyone's just excited and inspired to help the rest of the world kind of discover the same,
Yeah. Yeah, we
which
have a
is
fire under our ass to make sure we not only improve ourselves but educate others in the process.
yeah, yeah. And it's just about like figuring out how to move this message because it's not easy, and there's a lot of people who are very close minded about it because they have to be the ones who discovered it or they have to be right about it. Um, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what I notice as well is that there's a lot of focus on trying to push this content out on social media, but
Mm,
I honestly I feel like this might sound arrogant to say, but I feel like I'm the only person or one of the few only people in the circadian space who's trying to talk to people in person about this. Like directly speaking with clients who are more interested in health to then make them aware of circadian principles and just circadian biology in general. So that's
mm-hmm,
what I feel like our side of Twitter needs to do is not only put the content out on social media, but put your ass in the arena and start speaking to people who have no idea what any of this stuff is. As a matter of fact, start talking to people who disagree with your positions. Start
mm.
talking to the centralized doctors, the pediatricians, the dermatologists. That's really where the change happens.
Yeah, just go get a 30-minute walk in the beach and find anyone with sunglasses lathered in uh, sunscreen and kind of scream at them.
Hey, bro, do you know you're destroying Alpha MSH?
Yeah. How's Enzo, man?
He's good. He's developing as the
Tam?
beast should. He's really yeah, really growing strong.
Wow. Beautiful. Why are we I mean something that I've noticed, or at least the thing that you've posted most about Enzo is he's getting skin in the game and he's just a newborn, right? Why is this image or this message preached that babies can't sunbathe like us?
I mean, it's honestly just a shitty idea in my opinion. And the reason why is because if you look at the late 1800s, early 1900s, we actually sunbathed our babies. We got their
Right.
skin in the game fully and did that consistently. And the resource that I like to point to is the 1931 recommendations on sunbathing in children from the
Yeah.
U.S. Department of Labor, by the way. The same U.S. Department of Labor that probably says that you should avoid the sun today.
Yeah. That's wild. And I'm pretty sure since babies are very fat when they're born, they're mostly water, light is actually extremely necessary for their growth. Literally.
Yeah, extremely necessary for a number of factors. I will say, just because there is some precaution that people should take.
Right.
I don't want people to abuse the sunbathing, especially with their infants. I think that considering infants are smaller in size, they absorb more light at a much more rapid rate, so they need less sunbathing. And then when you consider that they also have new skin, atrophic skin, let's say, they need to be progressively built up to that point of sunbathing to a
Yeah,
certain stage.
it's like rebuilding a solar callus, but much more slowly.
Yeah, because they do have sensitive skin.
Yeah. Yeah. How have you approached that with them?
Just focusing on morning sunlight and
Mhm.
then progressively dosing midday sunlight as well.
Dosing. I love that.
5, 10, 15 minutes, and then consistently just doing that.
Does he like it? Do you know if he likes it?
Bro, he loves it. He loves the sun.
Oh, wow. Beautiful. How's he eating?
Oh, he's eating the best stuff on the planet. He's eating liver. He's eating
Oh, wow.
kiwis, sardines. I mean, this guy has a broad range of foods that he consumes. So
Wow. Imagine him at my age, dude, with just growing up with this. Wow.
I say it often, man. I wish I was raised like that. I wish I had sardines and all this esoteric shit.
Yeah, is he eating raw?
Um,
As in not raw meats, but like raw honey, because I'm pretty sure that's also you'll get yelled at if you give your baby raw honey, etc.
yeah, you know, I
raw
know
food.
there are some concerns with botulism. I think that's also flawed to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But we haven't introduced raw honey yet.
Milk.
We've done some raw kefir, a little
Yeah.
bit of raw milk. Yeah.
There you go. He's growing faster than anyone on Twitter.
Oh, bro, he's a schizo guy.
I love it. He's not vaxxed, right? I think you talked about that in the first part of the show.
Fuck no, bro. He has not been touched by any sort of scam like that.
I love that. And how? I mean, first of all, how did you work that out with your pediatrician, or at least if you have a traditional pediatrician?
Well, we paid a lot of money for a midwife who's actually related to my girl, but she's just one of the best midwives in the nation. So she directed us in terms of the schedule, the consistent vaccine schedule, and all that stuff. But it's just very easy to poke holes when you start doing some basic research.
Mm-hmm.
And then we did actually pick up a pediatrician. What's his name? Dr. Bob Sears.
Mm-hmm.
He's also one of the best in the nation, and that's where we get a lot of our information from. We read his books, we watch his lectures, a lot of that stuff.
Beautiful. How'd you make that decision? I mean, I'm pretty sure you knew that before she was actually pregnant.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the thing about getting the jabs is that most of them are given and administered after, like, a few weeks or a few months after the baby is born.
That's just evil. Straight up.
Yeah, I mean, the only one that's going to be given on the spot is going to be the Hep B jab. And if you look at hepatitis B or Hep A, I mean, you know, the stats are staggering in terms of basically most of the mothers are protected from Hep B, period. Like, we just don't see cases of mothers who have hepatitis B, certainly not hepatitis A. And oftentimes they just don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
The only ways you can get Hep B is really you either inject yourself with a dirty needle. I believe I believe you have gay intercourse.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's the other one? I forgot the other one, but basically there are only like 3 ways you can catch that.
What about your relatives? What do they think? I know you don't care, but what do they think?
I mean, you know, I've only talked to a few, maybe 1 or 2 about this, just because it's so controversial. But yeah, it takes some education on their end too, just trying to.
Absolutely. You should write about this.
I mean, I have a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
it's honestly such a messed up area that I'll write about it to a certain extent. I don't know if I want to go deeper, to be honest.
Whenever you're in the Joe Rogan experience, I guess. No?
We'll see. We'll see. I do have to educate myself a lot more. So
Yeah. Oh, you'll be there. Zaid, for my last question, I'm sure you're gonna love this one. What has Enzo taught you about life as a very young father?
that it's valuable to try to see the world through new eyes.
Wow.
Most definitely, taking on new perspectives. Me personally, just having more responsibility, I think, has helped me a lot, and that's certainly helped me level up. So yeah, those are just a few that come to mind, but certainly trying to just view the world from a different perspective. I think, minds often stay stagnant, but if we can develop a new perspective and start to see things from a new angle, then that's where we can change our mind in productive ways.
How have you put that to practice
I mean,
recently?
various things like, if I'm debating with someone, let's say a dermatologist on the whole sunlight shit, to
Dude,
be honest,
you're
like
the only one on the timeline.
I will try to see where they're coming from, because at the end of the day, they are
Wow.
fostered in a certain educational framework,
Mm-hmm.
and they do view the world from the perspective of sunlight being bad. So you do have to understand that when debating these people.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful, Zaid. And thank you for part 2. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your time. And I'll see you down here in Mexico or up there in California soon for part 3.
Part 3's got to be in person, bro.
No, absolutely. I love you know who Nolan Wilson is? Tyro Nolan.
Yeah, yeah.
He has a rule on his podcast that he will not dare to go part 3 if it's not in person.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm putting that one, and maybe soon I'll put it even to part 2s.
Yeah,
Just to hurry up in person.
because it's just not the same if it's done online, dude. It's just a
Absolutely.
completely different experience when you do it in person.
No, I mean, and you actually have skin in the game with that, right? With your podcast, you're 200 episodes deep, 300.
I mean, we're heading towards 300. I'm not sure what specific time or
That's
amount.
incredible. Yeah, and your guests are there. No?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see you soon then, Zaid. Thank you, brother.
Awesome, brother. We'll enjoy a nice meal, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you, brother.